Healthcare for everyone, everywhere. I'm going to suggest to you that the last really big innovation in healthcare was in 1948. And that's when Anna and Bevan created the National Health Service. This system has as its founding principle, healthcare for everyone. Now, not many countries have adopted a single provider, single payer system. And I can tell you for one that I don't think they should. But it is very widely agreed that universal care with protections for the poor and disadvantaged is our goal. But we have very big challenges making that a reality, and we define those challenges three ways: access, value, and sustainability. Access. In America, we talk about the uninsured, folks who generally get access to care through emergency rooms. In Europe, people talk about waiting lists and rationing of care for the elderly and limited access to the latest technology. Both of these are actually just sideshows. The really alarming fact is that in a truly global economy, the business of modern medicine excludes 85% of the world's population. Value. I'll talk about two examples here. The world's most valuable medical device market is for something called a cardiac defibrillator. It's about a $6 billion annual market, and fully 7 in 100 people who get one of those devices will receive a therapeutic benefit. 7. The world's most valuable drug is a product called Lipitor. It's a $13.7 billion product in 2010. It saves 1 life for every 1,000 people who take it. Sustainability. Healthcare systems are consuming enormous amounts of our national resources. It's 17% of the United States GDP. Costs $2.2 billion now to approve a novel molecular entity. The pharmaceutical and medical device industries have had their earnings multiples in the last 10 years crushed from 35 to 9. Investors are not optimistic. And we sum up all of these challenges as affordability. And our view is that leaders in healthcare, in the private, the public, and the NGO sectors need to think about industries that have overcome similar challenges and examine how they succeeded, because we need to build an industry capable of meeting global needs. Innovation cannot be about rich people who only want the best. And innovation cannot be about poor people in rich countries who want the best for free. Innovation needs to be about making high-quality, affordable healthcare available for everyone, and to add to Mr. Bevan's goal, everywhere. So, here we go. My grandmother, Kathleen Mabel Bales, was born December the 31st, 1899, in Norwich, in England. Great Britain was the world's only superpower, and the mood in Norwich that New Year's Eve probably felt like Palo Alto in December 1999. It was the beginning of a new century. No fireworks over the bay, but there was beer, church bells, modern medicine in its infancy. That year, 1899, Bayer began selling synthetic aspirin. By 1904, my great-grandfather, who was a legal clerk in Norwich, was dead from spinal tuberculosis. And at the age of 5, Kathleen and her 2 sisters, Alice and Gladys, went to be residents of the Norwich poorhouse. That is a jail for poor people. She lived a very hard life as a child. She was separated from her sisters. She wore prison clothes. She had a rudimentary education and little medical care. She worked as a seamstress. She got her first pair of shoes at the age of 11, when she was sent off to be a downstairs maid. Now today, in England, everybody wears shoes. In fact, about 3.5 billion people in the world wear shoes, and that is a remarkable statistic. Until you think about the number of people who use a mobile phone. About 5 billion people use a mobile phone. That's a lot more than wear shoes. Most of the people who use one of these devices make less than $10 a day. Now, we all know this, but it's worth asking, how did it happen? If a cell phone was a medical product, I suggest to you it would cost $10,000, and the Harvard School of Public Health would have done studies to say that that is cost justified. Now, it's kind of funny, but it's not a joke, because the folks in the technology industry have laid out a roadmap for 21st century innovation that's truly successful, and in healthcare we should really pay attention. First, let's look at the basic definition. In technology, innovation is more functional, more affordable, and more available every year. Now that sounds obvious because we all experience it every day. But in healthcare, we've defined innovation as a little bit better and a lot more expensive every year. There's a second important issue here, the business formula, innovation drivers. Consumerize, it's a cell phone, not a workstation. Systematize, hardware, software, connectivity, security, one seamless package. Globalize, 5 billion cell phones, mostly owned by people who have never seen a doctor in their lives and mainly never will. Let's examine this business formula a little more. Consumerize, it's a term of art. If you look it up, you can check it out on Wikipedia. It's defined as a strategy adopted by the technology industry to reduce cost, improve reliability and effectiveness by commercializing products with consumers ahead of enterprises or professionals. This slide means something profound. Vastly more computing power today is owned by individuals than by corporations or governments. Systematize. If you think about how we all use media and communications today, then we have something in the palm of our hand that is the main delivery device. It has all kinds of functionality. We have managed to aggregate and to simplify. We get one bill, and 80% of the world's population can afford to pay it out of their own pocket. Globalize. Let's just look at how different the healthcare industry is to the technology industry on this dimension. Our companies partner with both Medtronic and Novartis, but Medtronic is the world's largest device company, Novartis world's largest pharma. Medtronic, roughly 60, 25, 15, US, Europe, rest of the world, that's their revenues. Novartis, 40, 45, 15. Intel's revenue split, 15, 15, 70. What the technology industry has managed to do is define its cost structure based on the bottom billion and its revenue curve based on ability to pay. In healthcare, we have defined our cost structure based on the ability of the richest 10% to pay. Not a good strategy. Let's go back to my grandma, Kathleen Bales. In 1899, India was part of the British Empire, and nearly 400 million people were British subjects. Modern medicine was beginning, and it was designed to treat lethal acute infectious disease that killed the young and adults in the prime of their lives. So we're talking about polio, diphtheria, tuberculosis. Life expectancy in 1899 in the US was about 50 years. In the 20th century, the death rate due to pneumonia, influenza, other things, has been reduced by 90%. So bronchitis used to account for 3% of deaths in the US. Today it's less than 0.1%. So it's a 3,000% reduction. So tremendous innovation in the treatment of acute disease. But we have new health challenges. Today there are 62 million British subjects, but there are 1.2 billion Indian citizens. In 1899, this family would have been in Delhi. Today they're in Delhi, but they're in Detroit and they're in Durham. And they're all dealing with new health megatrends: aging, urbanization, and affluence. Aging. Life expectancy around the globe is between 75 and 80 years. In the US, it's 79, where we spend about $8,000 a head for every man, woman, and child on healthcare. It's about 79 in the UK, where we spend about $3,500 for every man, woman, and child on healthcare. And it's 75 in China, where they spend $94 for every man, woman, and child on healthcare. Urbanization and affluence. The global pandemics that we face today are diabetes, dementia, and depression. These are all chronic diseases. They're massively influenced by lifestyle choices. They're not well suited to cost-effective treatment in capital-intensive sick care systems staffed by scarce, high-cost professionals. So today in healthcare, we have new challenges, but we have an old business formula. We sell to professionals, not to consumers. We sell components, not systems. And we sell to rich people, not to everybody. And instead of aggregating and simplifying, we aggravate and complicate. To tackle the 21st century pandemics, we need to follow the example of the technology industry. We need to use the new business formula, consumerize, systematize, globalize, and do this taking advantage of what we already know has therapeutic potential, but make it work reliably in the real world on a global scale. What do we know has therapeutic potential and can work on a global scale? Medicine. Global pharma is a very big industry. It's about $750 billion a year. It's more than twice the size of the global semiconductor industry. It's a very cost-effective way of treating disease. But many folks don't take their medicines. And in most of the world, many of the medicines in the supply chain are fake. Let's give you one example in chronic disease, diabetes. There are now 320 million people who have diabetes, 90% with type 2. It's the world's most costly epidemic. Over 25% of healthcare budgets globally are consumed by the consequences of diabetes. But less than 50% of patients achieve adequate control of their blood sugar. And the main reasons are failure to take their medicines and to make simple modifications to their behavior. So a solution for type 2 diabetes that patients can easily use wherever they are does not exist. Now, let's imagine a digital future where you could use your mobile phone to see a doctor and get diagnosed, digital diagnosis, to obtain the medicines you need and get expert advice about how to use them, digital prescribing, and track the actual use of medicines and their results so you can use them properly, digital drugs. That world already exists. Health Presence is a Cisco product, and Cisco's done a lot of clinical work with this. Interestingly, their clinical work suggests that in a virtual consultation you get a better outcome than you do in person, because the doctor on the screen can invisibly use decision support tools and not only rely on what he may remember from medical school. The medical professionals in this system are crowdsourced, so you can find the doctor you need, available when you need them, where you are, with the knowledge and the networked experience to figure out what your problem is, prescribe a drug, and send the prescription to your phone at a price you can pay. Okay, so where do I get my medicines? Well, here's the pharmacy of the future. It's a sophisticated ATM machine that contains thousands of medicines with a wireless link to your neighborhood pharmacist, who will help you understand your medicines, who can work with you to make sure you can use them properly, and deliver them to you in a secure system with almost no overhead. And of course, there'll be digital drugs, and this is the Proteus product. A digital drug enables you to verify your medicine is real, not fake, to monitor exactly when you take your medicine, measure how your drug is working, educate you about your disease and your health, advise you if you may need a different dose, track your wellness, alert family members if you're not doing well, reward you for following your prescription, entertain you with games that promote your health, and motivate you to stay well. And this product will sell for substantially less than a patented medicine. We've got over 5,000 days of patient experience in heart failure, in hypertension, in mental health, in tuberculosis. These are proven medicines you already take with a unique computer chip inside them made from food ingredients. The pill turns on when you swallow it, and it communicates through your body. There's no radio, there's no antenna, there's no battery. We use a man-made digital heartbeat. The Band-Aid that you see here detects the pill, and it measures your heart rate, your respiration, your body angle, your activity, your sleep, and your temperature. If you get within 30 feet of your phone, the encrypted data is downloaded and sent to you via the internet. We process it, send it back to you, and you're free to share it automatically with whoever you think can help you. Could be your mother, your brother, your son, your daughter, maybe even your doctor. So if you're a family caring for someone who's sick, a father with heart failure, a daughter with diabetes, or a son with bipolar, a mother with Alzheimer's, you can probably sense what this might mean. What we're showcasing is the marriage of proven medicines with proven information and communication technologies, so we personalize therapy and make it work for you. Here's the Health Tiles operating system. You customize it. It's simple, weight loss. It's just your weight, your activity. For hypertension, add in medications, sleep, blood pressure. For diabetes, you can add blood glucose, incentives, games like MedMatch. It's easy to use. It's intuitive. You can get summary data, longitudinal data. You can understand the interactions between your behaviors and your health outcomes. We turn diabetes into a game. So one of our first products is a product called Equa. What we're doing is following a proven methodology. We have a cycle which is believe, know, and act. Our job is to frame what you know, prompt the action, reinforce the belief. I know I have fun playing GameFit, and it's good for me. I get reminded by my friends to take my medicines or to go for my jog. And my belief is reinforced by personal health data that's about me. What do families say using this system? In tuberculosis, they say it gives me dignity. In heart failure, it makes me feel safe. And in bipolar disease, it gave me my mom and dad back. Talk about games for a little bit more. We recently invited a group of senior pharmaceutical executives to play a game called the Power Challenge. They expressed some doubt that we could turn health into a game and affect behavior, because changing behavior is really impossible. And we are not the kind of people who play games. So we asked them to enroll in the Power Challenge, and just by monitoring, we'd find out who was going to be the most powerful executive in their company. They got 1 point for each step, 2,000 points for keeping their heart rate over 120 for 10 minutes or more, 20,000 points for the highest heart rate delta, 10,000 points for each power pill they took within 30 minutes of their prescription, 1,000 points for each hour of uninterrupted sleep, and an extra point or extra points for obeying instructions on their power phone. We had a leaderboard, and they could check it out on their phone with special buttons for category leaders and individual rankings. Now, these are executives at a major pharma company, and they're working, so they were far too busy to check on their status, about more than once every 30 minutes. The winner in the Weekend Warrior category stepped 46 miles in 4 days whilst he did his job. The From the Heart winner kept his heart rate over 120 beats per minute for 7.3 hours consecutively whilst he did his job. The greatest heart rate delta was 138, and this was a closely competed category with trash talk going on in the Power Challenge chat room. The Recovery Zone winner got 7 hours of restful sleep and didn't win any other categories. On the bonus points section, at 9:15 on Monday morning, we texted the executive team and told them that they could get 10,000 extra points for taking a rest and lying horizontal. 7 out of 20 lay down on the floor in their meetings. Now, as you can imagine, this group had fun being monitored for compliance. And they're beginning to realize the power of personal data, incentives, and game dynamics in health, because your body is the ultimate game controller. So this is the Equa product. We expect it to be launched in 2012. Metformin is the world's most prescribed drug, and it's the backbone of this platform. We started testing it in patients in 2010. It's a highly consumer-centric approach, so we're performing a detailed design ethnography around folks in very specific segments. So in the US, our initial target is a truck driver. These folks live in highly networked environments. Their 18-wheelers are internet monitored. They never break down, but the drivers break down quite a lot. Over 50% have hypertension. They're 3 times more likely to have diabetes, and if they become insulin dependent, they lose their license and their livelihood. So we engage this group with tools that they recognize and understand, and created a motivational program called MedMatch. Drivers follow their prescription. They get to make donations to the St. Christopher's Fund, which is a disabled fund for truck drivers. And they get to win NASCAR tickets. And this is a way of promoting both a reward and a higher purpose for their individual behavior. Now in the UK, our focus is nurses, where genes and stress, and we know hospital food in the UK is gourmet, but poor diet make this group also highly subject to diabetes. And in India, the selected segment is call center workers. The name for diabetes in India is even call center syndrome. 40% of the males who work in call centers are diabetic. So companies like Proteus are pioneering an innovation paradigm in healthcare that creates enormous new potential. The internet is the most important utility on the planet. It reaches 6 billion people. It's more available than water, electricity, or a paved road. 5 billion people use it regularly. Hundreds of millions of those people are caring for someone who is sick. They have no tools, no rewards, no recognition. They represent the largest group of healthcare workers on the planet. How do you plug into that network? Well, at Proteus, the drug is the plug. And the opportunity for all of us is to marry medicine in its broadest sense with mobile communications. In the US, we think there may be more leverage empowering 50 million informal caregivers than imposing more regulations on 5 million professional healthcare workers so they can deliver more care with less resources. We need to build a new delivery model. The acute care system we have today is based on buildings, people, and products. The chronic care delivery system of the 21st century we build to complement this existing platform will be based on mobile phones, software, and services. It should be much more personal, much less expensive, especially for the purpose for which it's designed, which is chronic disease management. Huge amounts of medicine should be practiced in community care networks. Physicians and health professionals, specialists, should be available to consult with patients over wireless networks. And folks should be able to do this in places where they go anyway, their workplace, the shopping center, or at home. Patients are at the center of the system. They share information and decision making. And the key is to provide the tools, the recognition, the rewards, and the incentives that patients and families need to manage their own healthcare. Apple combined the economic interests of the internet, telecommunications, and music, and this created enormous value. Proteus combines the economic interests of the internet, telecommunications, and medicine, and this will create even more value because music to Apple is medicine to Proteus. It's just content. Apple makes music more accessible, more valuable, and innovation more sustainable. Proteus makes medicine more accessible, more valuable, and innovation more sustainable. We think the internet and the mobile phone are the most important innovation drivers of the 21st century in healthcare. So, I'll conclude. I think I've gone over. We've seen enormous changes in the last 20 years. Mail. Emails made the US Postal Service redundant. Markets, marriages, music, money. Is medicine next? I meet a lot of people who have doubts about this kind of vision, but I'll tell you, Kathleen Thompson died in her bed aged 94, and she spent the night before she died dancing. In her lifetime, she witnessed the discovery of flight, electricity, refrigerators, washing machines, telephones, radio, the National Health Service, a man on the moon, all 7 of her grandchildren wearing shoes. So it's okay, people can have doubts, but she would be certain in my lifetime we can bring affordable healthcare not just to everyone in England. We have the tools, the technology, the delivery system to make it possible to deliver affordable healthcare to everyone, everywhere. Thank you.
So questions for Andy? So Andy, I have a question.
Sure.
So the slide you showed about how much of the market for medical devices and drugs are in the US and Europe versus technology, when I saw that graph, I thought, okay, if you draw that graph for luxury goods, you may get something similar to what you're getting for medicine. Or to put it differently, there is a perception that medicine is a luxury good. So the more economically advanced nations, those are the ones who eventually decide that they can dedicate their resources to healthcare. So how do you argue back? How do you disprove that statement or that hypothesis that healthcare is a luxury good?
I think it feeds into my argument, which is that in healthcare we've focused far too long on saying that we'll monetize people who are rich. And what the technology industry has done is really important. They've built products that are fundamentally democratizing that reach everybody. And I go to the World Economic Forum every year in Davos, and it's an issue that comes up repeatedly, which is that rich people are excluded from access to healthcare, and it's a real problem. And as an industry, I think we have to address it by building products, services, and cost structures that enable us to meet everyone everywhere. I don't think it's okay to say, when you get rich, we'll be able to serve you. We have to serve you now.
Okay.
And that's something that the tech industry does really, really well.
Hi. It's a very interesting technology you have. I think one major difference between healthcare and the technology industry that you draw so much inspiration from is the existence of regulatory agencies. What are the major challenges you face in bringing your vision to life?
So that may be the case, although again, if you sat down with Craig Mundy, who's the Chief Strategy Officer of Microsoft in Davos, he'd laugh at you. I mean, the telecommunications industry is a highly regulated industry. All industries are highly regulated, and the idea that we're special in healthcare because we're regulated doesn't fly. Part of what the industry has to do is a much better job of shaping the way regulators cause us to act. But the excuse that we're a regulated industry means we can't do better is one I'm not going to buy.
So I would add something to that, Duar. So the question, I think your assumption was the regulation that the FDA puts into the system. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about another aspect of the healthcare system that is making it so expensive. The entry to the profession is very highly regulated. Who can practice medicine and how many physicians we have in the United States is very highly regulated. The pharmacies are very highly regulated. So I'm looking at the example that you show there, I'm thinking, geez, all the pharmacies are going to be up the wall, making sure that everything is highly regulated so that technology fails.
Yeah.
So how do we change that?
It's a very, first of all, I mean, one of the things that you see in healthcare conferences everywhere I go is everyone just talks about the United States. We just talk about monetizing the US taxpayer and about US regulations. We've got to start to talk globally. PharmaTrust is on the market in Canada, they're on the market in Switzerland, they're on the market in the UK, and if the US wants to have a big fight about how to regulate it and keep it out, well, good luck. We already have proven that the richest country in the world cannot afford the healthcare system we have. And so, as far as we're concerned as a company, yes, there's all kinds of regulatory issues that we have to face in this country. But you know what? We're going to go to India, we're going to go to China, we're already approved in Europe, we'll be approved in India within a few months. We're seeing that, I mean, so I just don't have patience for this utterly US-centric discussion, which is part of why we're in the pickle we're in, which is, quick, let's figure out if rich people can pay even more for stuff that doesn't work. It's ridiculous. It's got to change.